Hey everybody, welcome back for day 2 of the Aspen Pullover Sew Along. The pattern is from Peekaboo Patterns, and the sew along is going to be hosted in the Stitchin MsFits group. I'll leave both of those links in the description to purchase your pattern and join the group if you'd like. I'm using Misfits fabric. This is the He Loves Me Not collection. And let's get started on day 2. So the first thing you want to do is we're going to attach, if you're doing the knit trim on the edges of your pocket piece, you're going to want to first, it's going to be folded in half, and then you're going to attach this all along the edge of your pocket, and then it's going to be flipped out and top stitched. But we want to make sure that we stabilize the pocket. So, just on a little flat sheet here with my little mini iron. This is a Steam Fast. It's just a little tiny, easy, portable iron. Want to say I got it off of Amazon. I'll go ahead and try and find that link and put that in the description as well. So, first thing you want to do is on the wrong side of your fabric, go ahead and lay those down. My cutting table is not heat resistant, so I could just fold it up a little flat sheet to be able to be able to iron on my interfacing without having to, get out the ironing board. So anyways, I'm going to put my interfacing on the wrong side of the trim. I cut out some pieces here and just kind of eyeballed the length, and I'm going to guess that they're too long. So I'm going to get my pattern and mark on the pocket piece with a disappearing marker, and you're just going to line up your pattern piece, and there is a little dot here on the pattern, and that's going to show you where your pocket will stop, because it is going to come all the way to the curve here. I don't know if you can see that. So this right here is the opening of your pocket. This is the side seam, and then this is going to get sewn to the top of the front piece. So this is your pocket all the way to the corner. So I'm just going to mark those, flip it over, and mark that piece. Again, just this little dot. So the dot shows you your pocket, and the star is if you're going to be doing a nursing hack. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and measure that to see roughly 7 inches. And I'm going to guess that my little pieces of interfacing are much too long. So I'm just going to snip off a little bit. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. This is all going on the inside of these, and it's just to stabilize slightly for the pockets so that your pockets don't stretch, and also for where they're going to be stitched, because the pocket is obviously a pocket, so it's an opening, and you don't want to have too much give there. Alright, so I'm just going to do a quick little iron. I also tend to cheat and just throw everything on my heat press. Do all the interfacing all at once. But I also have this little mini iron, so for little projects, this works. It's a handy dandy little iron, gets super hot, super fast. And do a couple seconds in each section. Make sure those pieces are on there nice and tight. Alright. Then from there, you're going to want to fold it in half and clip it to go ahead and turn that off before I end up burning myself with it. Alright, so we're going to want to fold it in half. The interfaced side is going to go towards the bottom of the panel. So fold it in half and clip it to the front of your pocket panel or pocket piece. Doesn't necessarily need to be a panel. I like to clip the bottom, fold it in half, follow all the way up, make sure I've got it the right way, it's not twisted, and then clip the top. And then stretching it out to make sure that it's even from the top to the bottom. I'm going to do one little pin here in the middle, clip, not a pin. And then we'll do one between those. And then one down here at the bottom. And again, the top is going to end up getting stretched a lot more than the bottom because of this piece of interfacing that we have here. Now, you don't necessarily have to interface the entire pocket. You can just do the ends of the pocket. I personally like to just do the whole pocket because eventually their fabric will stretch out. Just nature of the beast. And nobody wants a saggy pocket. So now we've got one side on. Go ahead and do the other side. Again, I'll clip one end first, starting at the bottom. Doesn't matter which side you start on. I just like to clip one end. Making sure that I keep it straight. And clip the other end. And again, I'll stretch those pieces to find my center. And in the center. Do the same again for the top here. And this is a very little thin piece. I believe it was only 1 inch wide. That's what the pattern calls for. Again, it's optional. You don't have to do this part. I just like the little detail. I think it makes it look better, but that's all personal preference. You could always just fold it over and hem the piece and you'd be good to go. Alright, so just like with the color blocking, I'm going to serge this piece here all the way along, and then we're going to top stitch it. But you're only going to top stitch the pocket part. So where your mark is for your pocket, we're only going to top stitch to right there. So I'm going to go ahead and serge these piping pieces on, and then I'll show you how we're just going to top stitch the pocket and why you're going to only top stitch the pocket, because the rest of the top stitching is going to be how it attaches to the front piece, which is this one. So because your pocket is going to be open, obviously because it's a pocket, you don't want to top stitch that down. So we're going to top stitch that first, and then we'll pick up where we left off with the top stitching and keep going all the way once it's attached to the front. But first, let's just get these piping pieces attached. Okay, so I've serged my piping to my front pocket panel, and then I marked where my pockets will stop with just a little clip on both sides. So here are where my pockets will stop on both ends. So I'm going to go ahead and just top stitch. Again, I'm using the double needle feature on a regular sewing machine to show you don't have to have a cover stitch to be able to do a double needle. You can also just do a zigzag stitch if you'd prefer. Really any kind of stretch stitch will work, whatever your preference. Again, I start with my needles down, and I'm just gonna top stitch to where that clip is, so that I'm only top stitching the pocket. You want to make sure that you're not really forcing the fabric in, but just kind of gently pushing it in rather than pulling on this, so that you don't end up with a ripple back here. So that you want this to stay nice and flat. So you're just kind of gently helping the fabric into the machine so that it's not stretching. Now I've just top stitched the pocket. No stretch, no ripples. All set. And then we're going to do the other side. And there we go. So now we've got top stitching for both sides. Now we're going to pin it to the front piece of the hoodie. Alright, so here's my front piece. Get all the rest of the pieces out of the way. I'm going to lay that nice and flat with our opening up. And then you're just going to match up the pocket. And the pocket does go all the way up to the top. So I'm just going to match up these edges and clip them in place. Do a couple along the bottom. Make sure we're all lined up. sure that it's flat and even all the way up. And again, these pieces will make sure my seam is folded over the right direction. Line up your pocket to the front on both sides. Line up and clip. Line up the little notches that you had in there. So now, if there was anything that was going to be tricky about this pattern, it's probably this part. But that's why we're going to work it out together. Now for this, I do use pins because it's just not easy or convenient to clip in the middle of the fabric here. Trying to make sure you can see what I'm doing here and not blocking your view. Alright, so now everything's all lined up nice and neat. Just going to make sure that my pocket is nice and even all the way up the fabric. That my seam is folded over to the right side because again we're going to continue this top stitching here where we stopped in our pocket, and we're going to go all the way up, attaching the pocket to the front piece. My seam allowance is folded over the wrong way up here. Alright, so from where the pocket ends, I'm just going to take some pins and attach them. I'm going to attach the front piece to the pocket. Just to kind of hold it in place. And there we go. So now that's going to help stabilize it in place when we do the top stitching. Now we'll turn it around. And same thing for the other side. Make sure everything's all nice and neat, laying flat and even. No buckling. Do one pin about here. And then right at the top of the pocket. Alright, now we're going to, same thing, we'll either start at the top depending on which side you're going from, because you can only really kind of, at least the way that I do it, on a domestic machine, you can only really navigate from one side. So either you're going to start from the top and meet your top stitching, or you're going to start at the top stitching and go all the way to the top. Preference, whichever you prefer. And then we will go from there. I'm probably going to end up having to press this. My interfacing is rippling, not being a team player right now. Alright, so I'm going to finish doing that top stitching, and I'll show you how I do that. Alright, so I've got all my pieces lined up on the machine, and I'm going to do just a slight overlapping in the stitches. Make sure we're all lined up. So the stitches are going to be right on top of the ones that are there for the pocket. And overlapping just a couple stitches is perfectly fine. You'll still have plenty space for the opening of the pocket. Remove my first pin there. And then, again, just not forcing it, but just lightly adding a little bit of pressure to kind of counteract the pull from the machine so that your knits don't stretch as you're going through and top stitching. Now it will look like one seamless top stitch all the way to the pocket, and then it comes all the way down, and that's it. And then you just go ahead and do the same thing for the other side, and we will go ahead and attach the sleeves to the front and the back and kind of start to create the basic shape of our hoodie for today. Alright, so now that our top stitching is all done, you're going to have these extra little strings here from where the top stitching to the front piece meets the top stitching of your pocket. So you're just going to take a basic sewing needle. I'm going to go ahead and use this one here. And you're just going to thread all of your strings. I typically do the strings from one row. So I'll do this is the left side. And you're just going to string them through to the back where you can tie them off and trim them. So that's going to put it right through the back like so, and pull them out. And then we'll do the other ones. Stick the needle in first. At least that's how I do it anyways. You can do it however you want. whatever's easiest for you. I realize too that this isn't typically the needle that I would use. I'm going to grab a different one. Here we go. I typically use one that has a little bit more of an eye hole to it. So I've got much more space in there. And pull those through. And done. Now you also have your bobbin thread. Go ahead and send that through also. This one's more of a pain since it's that maxi lock stretch thread. Now we've got all our threads here on the back. I'm just going to tie them in a knot. You can split them in two, tie them in a knot that way. You can just tie them all in a knot. But I just split them in two. First one's kind of loose. Second one I give it a little tug, because you don't really want to pull any of your stitching. And third one, really make sure that they're tied tight. And then just trim them off. That's it. And go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. And that's it. Now we've got a nice even top stitching all the way up, no extra threads sticking out anywhere. So now we want to attach sleeves. Let's adjust a little bit here so you can see better. All right. The sleeves are shaped the front. Sleeves are shaped the same for the front and the back. So whichever sleeve, if you did any color blocking anyways, whichever one you want, you're going to pick your sleeves, whichever side you want to be on each side, and they're going to go right sides together, and you're going to clip them all the way up. There we go. Try to make sure you can actually see what I'm doing. I'm just going to clip all these, making sure my piping is laying down the right direction so I don't sew it into the arm sleeve all weird. And there we go. So then once that's attached, the sleeve will open like this. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. Attach that to the front for my other sleeve. Again, right sides together. And just like the piping, I'll start at either end. And if your piping hangs over a little bit, like this here, that's fine because it's all going to get cut off in the seam allowance anyways. So that's no big deal. So on either end, and then just making sure that they line up all the way down. Alright, now I'm just going to serge these. front of the sleeve to the front of the hoodie. And we'll be back and do the same thing for the back. Again, if you don't have a serger, you're not comfortable with your serger, a simple stretch stitch will work. Just make sure that you stay within your seam allowance. Alright, so my sleeves are now, the front of my sleeves are now attached to the front bodice. And then we're going to do the same thing with the back. First thing you want to do is line it up right sides together with one of the sleeves. And then everything will come full circle once it's all done. So we're going to pin, clip, whatever your preferred method, at the top, at the bottom, and in the middle. Then you've got your, this is the neck opening here, so this is the other side for your sleeve. You're going to pull that over on top of the other sleeve. So top and bottom. One in the middle. And then now with the back pinned on there, they should all make relatively a big circle. So this is your neck opening here. Your fronts are already attached to the front of your sleeves, and now we're going to attach the back of the sleeves. So I'll just go ahead and serge those quick. And then we will finish up the arms and we will be done for day 2. Alright, now that we've got basically a big circle of fabric, you've got your sleeves on each side, your top, your front, and then your back. You're going to bring the back over the top, right sides together, of the front. So that now all of these pieces will line up. And by folding those in half, you're now going to basically force your sleeves to fold in half as well. And then we'll just start at the bottom of the sleeves and pin those. And you're just going to go all the way around for the inside of the arm down to the side seams of the front and the back. Making sure to line up your seams anywhere that they meet. So this is going to be here on the inside of the arm, and then want to make sure that I line up all of my color blocking. And then it's not really going to make any kind of structural difference. It's mainly just for visuals. We want to make sure that everything looks nice and neat when it's all done and put together. A couple through the middle. And again, here at the bottom, you're going to want to make sure you have your front, your back, and your pockets. There should be 3 layers just here at the bottom, from where the piping is down to the bottom. And that's what's going to secure the pocket to the front and the back. All right. Now, with all the clips along the seams, you should have all along your bodice and into your sleeves. And this is going to be one straight seam. And then you can do the same thing here. You can start either at the top of the sleeve or the bottom of the bodice, doesn't matter. And you're going to go all the way around in one even seam. So we'll get that done and flip it back out, flip it right sides out, and see how it looks. Alright, so now we're going to, after we've sewn all of our side seams, go ahead and flip it right sides out. And you will have the basics to your Aspen pullover. We've got our pocket. These are our pockets. The pocket does go all the way up to the top. Obviously not necessary, but it's just the way that it is. So our pockets do have a little bit of a give here. And sleeves are all done. All of our color blocking, again, if you chose to do color blocking, or glutton for punishment like myself, always trying to add in little color blocking here and there. And I don't know why I do it to myself, but I feel like the payoff is worth it. It gives it a lot of character. It's really cute. Alright, so I've got my front and back and all the seams lined up. So all of my top stitching is nice and lined up here in the seams. Same thing for the other side, where everything lines up nice and even. And that's it. That's pretty much the basis of the sleeve and bodice construction. Tomorrow we will do cuffs and the waistband and attach our cowl neck. I'm going to do my waistband in the monochrome stripes again. I've got my cowl neck will be in the print and the coordinate, the main print and the coordinate. So one has the bride on it, one doesn't. So one's the inside, one's the outside. And my cuffs are in this Sketch It print from Coordinate Nonsense. Just a simple gray. Thought that it would be fun to just kind of have that as the cuffs with my striped waistband and the bride for the cowl. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye!